All right, so here's the deal. I forgot to record my microphone properly. I got Myla and Karl's vocals, their audio real good, but the other half of it, which was mine, unfortunately, doesn't exist. So what I've done is I filled it in with quirky little question cards in place of the actual questions, and I'll try and do little goofs throughout the video every now and then, and hope it keeps that engaging. Other thing, I've thought I was gonna go the entire life of this channel without ever saying this, but if you like the videos, consider subscribing. I guess I just thought people would do that on their own, but apparently not. So if you want to, I think I make pretty cool interviews, so I hope you like them. Enjoy.
Sonic drowning. Wow.
Wow. Thanks for that answer, Karl. On an unrelated note, have you ever considered using the sound? Was the sound that plays when Sonic is drowning an influence on Couch Slime, and specifically the song Cross-Eyed Dizzy at all?
I was more of a Nintendo kid, but I now want to sample that and look that up. Like I almost want to just open a new tab and just check it out. I won't do that because we went from the chorus to the bridge, or I guess the bridge to the second part of the bridge with what's called a metric modulation, which is music nerdy time stuff. But like, what was a triplet turns into a quarter note. So then you get to a slower tempo, and then we wanted to end it on the original tempo, so we just sped up to it. That's all for the speed up part.
Go into Logic, and then you click a dot where it's at, and then you click a dot where the old one was, and then line forms, and then
but you pick the first slower tempo by playing like a triplety thing that you then start to feel as quarter notes or whatever. And that's sort of like a math rock thing too, not just like music theory nerd stuff, which is kind of the same thing. Yeah, actually, to be totally honest.
This is the one line I can do as Mordecai from a regular show. Hello, governor.
Both.
Just Tony Hawk Pro Skater. In fact, we were just playing Realms, and I was, they have jailbroken N64s, and Myla didn't know that they had Tony Hawk on N64.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's what I grew up on, is N64 Tony Hawk. I don't really skate, but
you're Rodney Mullen.
Yeah, wow, holy shit. He's quoting an Instagram story where I'm trying to do an ollie and I eat shit, and then you don't follow the camera to me, and then that's my one Instagram story highlight is I'm Rodney Mullen.
Fuck yeah,
that's a deep cut.
That is so true, though. He really is.
I'm really not.
He really is. Well, you're not afraid to get down on your hands like Rodney Mullen.
Yeah, I'll try shit, but every time I get into skating for a little bit, I break my body and then I can't play drums. So then I'm like, this isn't worth it. And I picked it up late. Myla's more of a OG skater.
I was pressuring him for a long time, and then he, was scooting around. Everything was going great. He was happier than I've ever seen him, really.
Wow,
and then and then one day we were just hanging out on it and then slipped out.
Yeah, I borrowed a board. I didn't even break anything. I just fell down, hyperextended everything in my arm. And then another time, back in the day, I was going 5 miles an hour, but I used to use a longboard to get around school. And then I left it out in the rain, and the trucks got all rusty. And then one time I was just barely starting to go, and I was going 5 miles an hour, and the board stopped, and I fell. And I was like, this hurts a lot. I can't believe, is it really broken? That's crazy. I started to squeeze it to see, and then I started to black out. So I had to call my dad, I'm passing out in the middle of the street, and get picked up, and then have a broken wrist for that whole summer. So every time I try to skate, I can't play drums. It's just not worth it.
But I mean, I really fucked with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was my first video game. And then I moved on to skate, like all people, you know, we grow. You know.
Tony Hawk, to be fair, is like the baby bumper version of skating games. It's so easy.
Dude, and I haven't gone back to it like either. Like I haven't been in a place that has a Pro Skater, like any Tony Hawk's games. So I probably haven't played those since I was like maybe like 13. Like it would be so crazy to actually play those again.
But like again, when I tried GoldenEye again for the first time, I was like, oh, I've been like first person shooter controls have gotten so much better. This is weird, even though I used to play this all the time. But then when I played Tony Hawk at Realms, I was like, you can't forget this. It's so easy. You can like go into a ramp this direction and start grinding at a 90-degree angle, and it's fine. It's like the physics are just so easy.
That's what I love about the whole
I know,
thing.
that's why it's great.
Yeah, that's why it's so awesome.
Very accessible.
It's fun. I mean, two is so hard. Two is reality. Like they really let reality hit for that one, which was too much for people, you know? So they had to go like back to like, you know, a utopian idea, of course. But
I think I played a little bit of Skate 3.
Those fucking security guards were rude. Those motherfuckers, you'd just be about to complete a line and then they just like come and shove you out of your trick. And it's bogus. And I feel like as far as street skating goes in Seattle, I mean, it's pretty fucking tough. Guards and skate too.
I figure, yeah.
Yeah. No beef with any security guards yet with FP Daddy. So
yeah,
like
just the occasional sound tech, but even most of those are really chill. At Tree Fort, yeah.
Yeah, that was fairly recent. And you know what? I do understand to a degree. Like, I do understand. I mean, like, the thing about that was, like, I had climbed on that thing, like, about 2 times at that point, probably.
You didn't get as high the first time, though.
Well, so, yeah, every year I've slowly tried to climb higher. And I noticed, like, last year especially, which we didn't play at the Shredder last year.
Yeah, we played at the Shrine last year.
So I didn't get a chance to do it last year. And I was watching people that year. And I'm like, everybody's climbing that thing, but I haven't seen anybody get over that one part. And I remember because it was a large gap in between, like, the footholds or whatever that, like, I tried it a couple times and missed. And I was like, well, that was embarrassing, so I'm not going to keep going. But I realized I had to do it. And so I made a goal to like hook my foot on the very top of it and get up past that point. And so I did it. And then obviously that's a problem like for them because there's thousands of dollars of gear all around. And I see him telling me to come down. I'm like, okay, yeah, absolutely.
Here I come. Like we signed a waiver for our personal injury or anything.
Yeah. Well, there's also that. But I mean, he doesn't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
But like as I was trying to come down, there was like a mystery cord just wrapped around my foot, you know? And so if I wasn't able to figure that out, who knows what I would have yanked down with my fucking foot. But yeah, we got unhooked. We came down. I met up with dude later and was profusely sorry, and that's how it goes. You just don't ask for permission.
You ask forgiveness.
Yeah.
Wow, what a story. If you had unlimited money, resources, if you could play in stadiums with unlimited money, what would your dream production be?
What do you think, Carl?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, I know Myla's wanted to mess around with more ins and outs, sound-wise, for more stereo imaging stuff. Explain! Oh, like the sound coming out of for like electronics, you can have more in just sort of a stereo out, or you can have like lots of different outs that go to different places in the image, and then Myla understands this more than I do.
So basically, so what we could do is like you could isolate different like stems of your track. You could have like your bass, your whatever, like guitars drums, electronics,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And you could have those going out different channels, and then you could send them to different amps
Or different
or
PA speakers. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cool if it was all going into the PA, but then on stage we had like a giant bass rig and a fucking.
Well, we're also talking about a stadium right now, so we could get crazier than just amps on the stage.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I have ideas. What was that one thing? Somebody recently was like flown across the stage. They're always like flown, like the pop stars are always flying.
Yeah.
You know,
which always just makes me think of Howard Stern's Fart Man, but there's also like, yeah, pop stars do it too.
it looks so dorky.
Yeah.
Big ass jungle gym, something really high, something that went maybe over the audience a little bit. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, we could add more. I don't know. There's a couple songs that I wrote on guitar that would be kind of cool to also play live on guitar. But just basically just to shut up the people that will come to our bar shows and be like, "Where's the guitar, man?" You know, that's kind of half the motivation. Yeah.
One guy was like, "I know what you are. You're rock and roll, man." And we're like,
okay.
I mean, not really. He's like, "No, you're rock and roll. That's what it is. What are you doing? You need a guitar. You need a bassist. You need a band."
Yeah. And
it was like,
this
okay.
The same conversation happened like 3 or 4 times on tour, and Myla's the front person, so they go up to her, and I was like smoking a cigarette watching her just get fucking fed up. I had to like come over and be like, some excuse to take you away from here. I don't know, merch. Go do merch. So you don't have to talk to this guy.
I think it's that same relationship. It's like a pet, kind of, you know, right?
Well, drums are weird because there's a bunch of different pieces. So
lots of pets.
No, because I'll borrow anyone else's drum kit. I'll let anyone use my drum kit. I don't care. Awesome. Yeah, like
Later,
whatever's convenient. I'll play any drums. You know, it's standard procedure to bring your breakables, you know, your snare, your cymbals, your pedals. The pedals are big because it's like how you play, you know, anything where it's like what you're touching. Like, so sticks are very big to me. I'm like a big nerd on sticks. I actually go to, if I have it, I don't have it on tour, I'll bring a scale to the drum store and like put the sticks on it and make sure they weigh with the exact weight I like and roll them, make sure they're straight. And like I play, you know, pedals barefoot. So I take that. Yeah, those are my pets. Those are my babies. Even when they misbehave, which the pedal will do every show, they disconnect and they move sideways, and they're terrible misbehaving children, but they're my misbehaving children.
When I was in the 5th grade, I had a Facebook fan page for J. Jonah Jameson. And every so often I would just go on and type in like all caps, like, give me pictures of Spider-Man. I had a few likes on it, but I was kind of inconsistent, so it hurt my numbers.
You know, we've been, I mean, I usually come up with a plan, especially these days.
Yeah, with our present setup for sure.
Yeah. But Karl doesn't know it all the time.
I used to be in control of it when we used the sampling pad, and now that we're using Ableton, I don't have to know it. And Myla will sometimes send me a picture of it. Sometimes we'll just wing it. And then we also have the freedom to do the sort of improv-y loop-based jams based on the tracks, which Myla can then put DJ effects on and go crazy. I don't know. It's just fun. It's nice. But speaking of the misbehaving children, we like to go boom, boom, boom. We like to do jams. We like to go straight from one thing to the next. And the biggest hiccup is my pedals disconnecting and having no bass drum. So when that's not happening, we'll go, you know, as much as we can before we need to drink water. That's about it. But then when that happens, Myla has to figure something out to kill some time. I think so.
Press specifically?
No, I think just in terms of, and yeah, on this tour, we would, you know, book shows and people would check us out and be like, oh, they remind us a little bit of Machine Girl. So probably a positive. And I think on earlier tours, people didn't really know what to make of us as much on certain cities that we hadn't been to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think like the like reality of it is like we were doing it. We like maybe had like, did we have like 2 records out by the time we like learned about Machine Girl?
I mean, yeah, I learned about Machine Girl through Death Grips mashups on SoundCloud, but a bigger influence at the time, and kind of still is, Death Grips. Big Zach Hill nerd. But I think the skyrocketing popularity of Machine Girl has been a boon. But that also means that algorithmically, if someone finds you and they like you, you know, it's sort of like capitalism where like they are going to get recommended through the algorithm, the bigger bands in that genre. But at the same time, it does work both ways in sort of different situations. Yeah.
I think it's definitely like let's see where I was gonna go with this. It's crazy because I think before they gained a lot of popularity and stuff like that, we would be booked on a lot of different kinds of bills where people would kind of pick up on like maybe different vibes that they like saw in what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, we would get placed with all sorts of like bills, you know.
Yeah, and we still do, but they're more connected. We'll get put on like hardcore bills. That CrossFit Gym was like a hardcore festival. Metal bills, so we'll play raves. So we'll still play eclectic-y things, but they're all more related to what we do. And that could also just be a byproduct of the fact that we're a little bit more well-known in our city than we used to be. You know, it could be both factors. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it probably is a lot of just like playing for almost 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think that like the bills, like, and like the artists that we've also been like introduced to along like tours and stuff like that, like the people we're getting paired up with are like people that like share the vision. You know what I mean? Well, we still luckily get that.
Yeah.
We still luckily get that hella, you know, of just like people really not knowing like what they're getting into and stuff. And then, you know, and then like the experience of trying to like win a room of totally like fresh ears over, you know, like that's hopefully got to stay the same always.
That still happens
so,
to like Machine Girl, because it's a niche enough genre that, you know, you always are going to, it's like the, you know, the whole, it's not the same thing, but you rise to the level you're in competence where people get promoted past the job they're supposed to have. You also get like popular enough to play a situation where people don't know what the fuck your whole vibe is, because it's a mainstream enough situation. So some of the bigger festivals, even Machine Girl plays, you'll see people who came to see System of a Down are like, what the fuck is this? You know?
It definitely like kind of supplements that. Some, I feel like majorly like how it's impacted like our process is just like, you know, I mean, first of all, the design like elements and the communication between specifically, you know, the vinyl, the media company that also communicates with the vinyl manufacturing and stuff like that, but also like getting all those assets just like in a row correctly done and like dealing with that whole side of it, because like we probably wouldn't have had actual vinyls made without corporate. You know, we probably would have just like done some tapes or whatever. But and then I mean all the push on, you know, that end is, you know, all him. So, you know, that benefited us a lot. Also just helping out with like, you know, reposting social media stuff and like, you know, making what is it called? collaborative posts and stuff like that we can just like join on instead of doing all of it. So he like definitely helps out with that side of it a bunch. As far as like coming anywhere into like our process for making music, none, which is great, you know.
We'll probably see more of the effects of some of that stuff on our next release, because we had already released Couch Slime before meeting Chris and before, you know, sort of joining out with Corporate. You know, we have like, he has got like release strategies that he's done with other bands that we're going to try and stuff like that. But yeah, very hands off, not some giant advance / loan / debt. Got a bunch of vinyl that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Very chill.
A good fair deal. Yeah. Like fucking super sweet guy, you know, and then putting us in touch with any of his contacts, like, you know, the Nighttime Asylum
PR, and also like
just got us this interview with Bongo.
Yes. And also just like, you know, being on a label, we're all sort of like collaborating with each other in terms of other artists. Like he hit me up and was like, hey, what do you think of this house venue? And I was like, because he's asking for another corporate band. And I was like, I think that the turnout will be great. I think they'll get paid crappy because I think that's kind of what they're known for. And then he was like, yeah, that's the vibe I got. So like, you know, it's just nice to have more. And he facilitates that, just like helping each other in terms of the other bands on the roster. Like that release strategy that we would use on the next album was one that another friend's band used on that, you know, that same label.
Wave.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Rodney Dangerfield joke. This girl told me, come over. There's nobody home. I went over. There's nobody home. I fucked it up.
Done like weekenders and stuff before, but like these month-long tours are kind of a newish thing for us.
Yeah, but I mean, I couldn't speak to how it was in the past, really much at all. But like, and maybe it's just if you know kind of deal when like, you know, you are out on the road with these DIY venues and everything like that. You learn about these connections, but also like the Taco Bell that like they're doing their like artists like what was it? Jam the Bell or some shit like that. Yeah, I don't know what it was called, but they were like granting artists unlimited Taco Bell for the length of their tour or whatever like that.
I didn't see that.
You didn't?
No.
Okay, I talked about it with somebody else. But like, I mean, that alone shows just how much the game must have changed.
Yeah,
Taco Bells.
Also, like, you know, it's hard for us to say because we're newish to these longer tours. Every tour we do, we have not every. I mean, like this one for sure more than the other ones. More people are there. We're making more money, and it's doing better. And then on top of that, Seattle's so expensive that every time you leave Seattle, everything's cheaper. So even though touring is probably worse and harder than it's ever been before, it's becoming easier for us specifically over time. You know what I mean? And the fact that we're a two-piece and like pretty low overhead. I think the live music is where the money is for sure, and the merch. And then, you know, so you don't oversaturate your market. The touring is the thing to do. But yeah, you don't really make a lot of money off of streaming or anything. And you
make virtually no money off streaming. You release your music for free. You know, that's just a fact. It's like anybody who really gives a fuck, okay, they'll go buy your thing on Bandcamp and stuff. And that's always huge. That's always huge too. But you don't make money on fucking on the music part, you know. I think people, when they're really successful, they make money off of people knowing the music, showing up to hear the songs they want to hear, losing themselves ideally, and then wanting to like remember that night with a shirt or like a record or whatever and stuff. And ideally, like having a fuck ton of bodies in there and selling, you know, a lot of tickets. I mean, that seems to be like where all like the big corporations seem to have, you know, I mean, I guess the release of music too, but just like Live Nation and all them, they've seemed to worm their way into that side of things because it might be the most lucrative part of it all these days.
Not as much as Spotify has wormed its way into.
Absolutely. Yeah. But also, I mean, equally so in different ways. but it wasn't even Spotify first, but it is Spotify now.
But I mean, yeah, like
for like getting free music online.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's just, I guess they take the $10, $15 a month now, maybe.
They just,
Question
yeah,
mark?
I don't know.
Well, so I feel like the thing is like with before like non-Live Nation venues and fucking like, I mean, DIY spaces and everything like that, I feel like they have it down just fine. I mean, they have splits that they have door splits that like, go proportionately to the venue for their costs and everything to like pay their people well and keep the lights on and whatever. And then, the bands split the rest.
I would
And then-
Luigi Mangione, Daniel Eck, first of all. Just get rid of them. And then you could take Spotify and like if I were to pay 10 or 15 bucks a month and listen to one band only because I love them, that money's all going to go to Taylor Swift and that band's not going to get it because there's some niche band that I like. So you could proportionally actually pay the artists that people are listening to. You could get rid of all the fucking people who are siphoning off 95% of the money and investing in AI weapons. And then people could actually get paid for streaming while keeping it as convenient for the listener as it is already. That would be huge. But live, smaller venues that aren't affected by Live Nations, like Myla said, are kind of still fine. They just deal with.
They have a fine setup, basically.
Yeah.
If it's like if big venues were the same way, I guess like the thing that they've been able to worm their way in on is like promotion.
Yeah.
Right. And that's been their fucking foothold to get everything that they've gotten is promotion. And promotion, I mean, fucking, I don't know. People used to just have street teams. People like will be like, you need a street team and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know how many people have street teams anymore, but
I don't know how much power I
guess people
have
do.
or we have in this situation. But I'd also go after the really scummy real estate developers that are making it harder for smaller venues to stay afloat.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, with like crazy rent. So I also need to be an overlord of the real estate market, if that's okay. If that's, I mean, if you're gonna give a mouse a cookie, I might as well be in charge of the real estate
Give it
of the
to
world.
him, Bongo.
Yeah.
Bongo, give it to him. Come on.
That's tough. That's really fucking hard. There's just so much amazing music, and you have to represent. And now I'm only thinking about Eurovision because our friend Betty was like going on a Eurovision bender and about all those songs that represent that country for that year. And I want to do the espresso song, but not actually from Estonia.
So silly. Aliens like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like really? This is
okay.
Yeah.
I'll just answer quick and not think too hard about it, but just because it came to the front of mind, but probably Face Shopping by Sophie.
I was gonna say like too many things, so I'm gonna have to go with the espresso song from Eurovision.
Oh, Karl, come on.
We get 15 songs to represent the world in all of history. I don't know. That's too daunting of a task to pick one.
Oh, that's such an interesting question. I think that there is so many roots with like electronic music in general with trans women. Because I mean, I feel stupid when I say this.
Wendy Carlos.
Yeah. Who invented the Moog synthesizer, right?
I don't know if she invented it, she maybe pioneered it, but that's the first one I think of is Wendy Carlos. There's also a lot of like really underground producers I'm obsessed with that most people don't know that are also trans women, like Patricia Taxon and Hyphy Skazerbach. I don't know how to say that, or maybe Skazerbach. Hyphy Skazerbach. Not sure. Anyway, so it's not just the big name.
No. Yeah. And then fucking just like, but also like the ball scene and stuff, and like I guess just queer scene in general, but like there were so many amazing trans producers making that dance music that everybody was voguing to, and like serious culture. I think some of its roots actually are probably in ballroom culture. Um and and then I mean it's also I think I don't know. I mean, I think it's because there have been a lot of prominent like trans musicians in that realm, and I think maybe we all look up to them a lot and stuff. But it's also this like, uh, oh, well, I would say the first one ever was Freddie Mercury, to be honest, from Queen, um, and which different, different. But maybe Freddie was a trans woman. I don't know.
Well, either way, it's like you said, it's extravagant, but also like electronic music is adjacent to club music, which is inclusive and possibly more so than other genres. That might be part of it, as well as having other trance producers that are sort of
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah, I mean, it was also Sophie, um, and I guess now I'm kind of blanking on the question. My brain went into spiral. I think there's a really cool connection, I think, to the experience of transitioning to the music a little bit. It was something I'm kind of trying to explore in my brain right now, and uh, it's electronic music, and I think like sound design is like kind of hyper reality, or like what is it? Is it hyper reality, or is it realism when something is realer than
that is hyper reality? Yeah.
okay, something that's like realer than real.
Mm-hmm.
Is something that like at least I get a lot from like really great sound design that like gives me fucking visuals and stuff. And I think that there is like some of that when you're tackling like gender of like what it's not just like the looks, it's not just the titties, like what is it at its like core, and like how does one accentuate it when you're told that's like not like a part of you. How do you exude that or whatever, and like let that out when you know it's you're like it's not real for you or whatever. So I don't know, maybe there's some more connections to be made about that, but I think it's like it's a great avenue to get out some certain feelings, I think, that go along with the like state of being a trans woman, I think, and trans in general. um and it's great music to party to.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I don't know, that could be explored. That's a question that could be explored for sure. Damn, I mean, I do think video game sound design or video game like music would be fucking awesome. Um, and I think that would be, but also like being a producer for other artists would also be really cool too. Um, Specific project, a Spider-Man, a Spider-Man
I
video,
love Spider-Man video games. Yeah.
a Spider-Man video game. Uh, Honestly, like uh, a fucking cyberpunk uh game would be really fucking cool. For a while there, I thought it would be really cool to do music for Nintendo. Um, but like cute Mario Kart music, you know what I mean? But yeah, I would say I probably have to go with a cyberpunk dystopian like cyborg video game. That would be cool. Do you have one, Carl?
I've done some video game music, and I mean, for small indie games. And I've done like a lo-fi hip hop album that was like for a dude's like soundtrack. I don't really like making music for not us, really. I mean, there have been songs that I've made or instrumentals I've made that we didn't use, and then I'm like, blah 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 might like this. But in general, if I'm making music, like producing, I want it to be for what we do. And then what I've enjoyed more doing stuff for other people has been like fill in drumming or playing drums on someone else's thing. I find the production aspect too like taxing to put into something that's not us personally. Because it takes a lot of fucking computer time and all that shit. Versus just like, oh, I'll just play drums over this thing, wiggle my arms a little bit and that's fine. That's more easy and that's fun to do too, is like learning someone else's set in a short amount of time. But I don't know. The whole production aspect can be uh, a long process. And I feel like some of the stuff that I have done for video games, I'm like, I would have put more effort into this, polishing it if it was for us, even though I was getting paid. I'm like, even though I'm getting paid, I'm going to still slack off on this.
Protest music.
Protest music, but also things that are hard to categorize and therefore be replicated and scooped by AI. Like just interesting, unique stuff, kind of, which could also be protest music, both in
Well,
message, but like,
talking about a different thing though.
well, I mean, you can still put protest lyrics over that instead of a AI country song with protest lyrics,
That would be fun though too.
I mean, it would be something.
Yeah, I think just like new shit, like it is always kind of surprising to hear at least just like some of the artists that kind of like get really hot suddenly that are pretty much perfect replicas of things before it, you know? And I mean, it makes total sense because a lot, music fills a different whole void for people differently. A lot of people just want pleasant like background music, and then there are certain people who like will lose themselves to a specific genre that brings them back to like some specific like memory or something that they like want to how they want to feel or whatever. So there's definitely I understand that. But I mean for like at least the progression of like art or whatever from a purist sense, and also kind of I think it's probably a good call to keep people on their toes a little bit with like what's gonna happen, what's new. Like it's probably just good for brains, right?
It is, yeah.
It's really good for brains. Like,
it makes you like actually, that's why I'm saying it's almost sort of protest music, because like if you sort of, this sounds snobby, but if you're just like only ingesting sort of musical junk food or like, TV junk food, whatever, you're less primed to be like, this is fucked up what's going on around me. And more you're primed to just be like, this is how things go. Your brain just sort of sinks into that, I think.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, I mean, and especially like when it's like kind of like these nepo babies and stuff like that or whatever, like it feels like a hypnosis.
And nepo babies have the ability to make really forward-thinking music because they have all this funding and backing, and that's what they should do.
Time.
God
damn it.
Nepo babies step up and fucking
do it for the culture.
Do it for the culture. Like, take your privilege and fucking run with it. Don't make some bullshit.
Don't make no bullshit.
Yeah, we're counting on you, Nepo babies.
But, yeah, like combine shit at least, like, and fucking speak to the people and try to also like make music that like pushes people. I mean, and I think that like lyrically as well.
All right, it's my fourth attempt at recording this. It's now 4:25 a.m. I have edited for 7.5 hours straight on the video you were watching. The long and short of it is thank you to Flesh Produce. They were extremely kind and generous. Yeah, and subscribe if you like the video, because I'm gonna keep making more, and they're going to be better than this one. So if you like this one, oh boy howdy. I just desperately want to go to bed. So thanks for watching. I hope y'all are taking care of yourselves out there. Go, yeah, I don't know. Go support artists on Bandcamp. Go catch a show. Take care of yourselves out there.